Well,
Awesome. Kick it off, us.
yes, thanks for coming out to Insurance Bros.
Insurance Bros.
Talking
Number
about
10.
insurance today. 10.
This
is
is
our 10th.
10 weeks in a
10
row.
weeks in a row. That's pretty good.
Live broadcast as well as
Live broadcast. And then we have we're on the YouTube.
we are on the YouTube
And we're on every podcast.
and we have every podcast platform and we now have a
our
logo.
Logo.
We are
Pretty soon we have some merch. And, yeah. So just check us out.
got the set upgrade.
Yeah.
Everything. Introduce yourself, Voss.
Voss Spiros Financial, Arizona Medicare Insurance Solutions. We do Medicare insurance and funeral insurance if your loved one is
Plan on dying.
right, planning on dying. So we own a funeral home too, me and my wife. So yeah, funeral insurance and Medicare insurance. And then
Awesome. Casey Kendall, Prosperity North Advisors, located here in Gilbert, Arizona. We do commercial lines, so general liability, work comp, auto, umbrellas. We handle all your paperwork. We work a lot with private care assisted living homes, but have a lot of familiarity with Access and Mercy Care and United Health and all the new plans that have come out to service our clients. So we love working with that.
Yeah.
But Voss, we have some guests.
yes, they're right here.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yes. So introduce yourself,
Please.
Okay, I'm Michael Rowley. I'm the owner of Homewell Care Services in Mesa, Gilbert, Chandler, Scottsdale, and surrounding outlying areas.
Nice.
We've been doing this for 10 years, just coming around to 10 years. Really love helping the seniors, and this has been an incredible market.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Michael. Thank you.
And then
Yeah.
And I'm Heather Hildreth, and I'm also with Homewell Care Services. I'm the marketing manager, so I will assist families when they sign their loved ones up for private care in their home. We also have a couple of locations here in the Valley where we have an office that's on site at a senior living community on the
Oh, very
independent
cool.
living side.
Mhm.
So that allows the residents to stay in their independent living apartments, which is often roomier than assisted living, and it's got a independent feel. And then they can know that their care is provided by us, and they can just go along living independently. Sometimes it's temporary as they recover from something, from an injury or a surgery, and sometimes it's like, hey, just need a little bit of extra help
Sure.
to get them through
Yeah.
the day.
Well, that's a great segue. So
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of, overlap, if you will, as far as medical versus non-medical and where you start and stop and what that looks like. So, Michael, can you break down maybe some of your basic services and
I sure can, and there
that looks
sure
like?
is. If you look at Medicare and what does it cover when you've had an event, whether that's a surgery, a fall, etc. Physical therapy, you get 6 visits. Occupational therapy, you get 6 visits. That's not enough
no,
for
definitely not
most
enough.
seniors to recover. And so, one of the things that I'm most proud of, one of the Homewell differences, is we definitely work with the personal hygiene. We definitely help with the personal nutrition. But when we add personal well-being, in a 4-hour shift, we'll do exercises twice with a client. And so our transition home is amazing in the recovery rate.
Sure.
We also help those clients that this is where they're at. And for a variety of reasons, the aging process is the aging process. We're not going to get them better. But as Heather talks about, in independent living communities, we can come in for as little as 2 wellness checks a day, or just make sure they're taking their medications.
Yeah.
And in a home, we still do a 3-hour shift.
Cool.
And so, because a lot of folks just can't afford the level of care they need.
Right.
But with some home care, you can still manage
Well, something's better than nothing.
to get them
obviously,
better.
yes.
Yeah. And 3 times a week of doing exercise is the one thing you can do as a senior to help you not end up in assisted living.
Right. Yes. the more
And
you
assisted
exercise.
living is definitely a part of the continuum of care and skilled nursing and memory care units. But that's not where anybody wants to end up.
No.
And the way you don't end up is 2 things. One, you don't get sick. And you
Right.
can't always help that one.
Sure.
Or you don't fall and have a catastrophic fall.
Right.
And that is a preventable occurrence up to a certain age. Somewhere in the 90s,
Oh, yeah?
it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, well,
because no
eventually-
matter what, you can't keep the muscles going at some point, and that happens to everybody. But in your 80s, there's no reason to have catastrophic falls from simply losing your ability to sit to stand and a little bit of balance. And we will do that with you.
So you exercise people, keep them
Yes.
almost physically fit or physically fit
Yes.
in their 80s
To the level that they can be there.
Yeah.
And the math proves out you can stay in independent living for anywhere from 6 months to 5 years to as long as your body will help you last.
to
Staying in independent living as long as you maintain that sit to stand.
Yeah.
And don't have one of those other things, which is the natural processes,
Right. Yeah.
which are going to happen.
Well, assist to stand. That's huge. I mean, if you can stand up on your own and then move around.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can watch it. And I'll do that. I don't know how this will look on the camera, but you can watch them when they lean forward and they start doing the one.
Yeah. The rock
That's the beginning.
of not being able to stand.
And we can turn that around 100%. We just had one that we started. She'd been sedentary since a stroke about 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
She really wanted to get up and walking, and we took the business from another company because they just weren't helping her.
yeah.
And so I helped her figure out a couple of methods that would help her do sit to stands. We started with just 3 of them after each meal.
Yeah.
Worked her up to 10 each meal, and then she called me the next day. She's shaking her fist on the phone. She goes, "You hurt my legs,"
That's a good thing.
and it worked. She's now using the walker, can get outside and is walking. You know, she lives in a mobile home park. She's going 5 units up, 5 units back. That's after 2 weeks. It does work.
It does. So it's
if you
doing
focus
reps.
It is
It's kind of like back in the gym, doing reps of an exercise.
Muscle memory.
It is, and these, one thing we don't work on as we age is our core, and we don't work on our quads,
Right.
which are the 2 things you need to sit to stand
right.
safely.
Yeah.
And to walk safely, obviously, you need the whole leg.
Yeah.
But if we can get them to sit to stand, it 100% of the time it seems to work to get them to then a little bit of balance and then a little bit of walking.
Yeah.
And you just genuinely, gradually increase that
doing it.
stamina.
Right.
And then I
once
love it
they-
when clients then they get better and they don't need us as much. It's an it's an awesome transition.
And I think it's motivating a lot of times to know somebody's going to be there, not making me do it. Maybe they have had physical therapy in the past, and here's your exercises. And they have a list, and anyone who's been through physical therapy, it's not fun. It gets boring. You don't know if there's really any value. And that list, I'll do it tomorrow. They're thinking, but when they know that a caregiver is going to show up and. Hey, let's do this, and then we'll have lunch. Just kind of make it part of the routine. It makes a big difference.
Well, accountability as well. That's a
I
big
feel
part of it.
We work into their goals. If you ask seniors what their goals are, they'll tell you. And then we say, how can we help you achieve and move towards your goals? And that absolutely 100% works because they don't want to go to assisted living. They want to stay in their home as long as they possibly can. 95% of seniors, if you ask them, want
in your
to
home
stay
for so
in their
long,
home. Yep.
Don't really want
Even
them
when it
around.
becomes unsafe.
Right.
And so we try to balance off the unsafe. We have some programs, a Sure Step program, which is a signature training that we do to go in and how do we make your place safe for you. And we have a Go Home Well program, which is one we pick you up out of that rehab center, that skilled nursing, that hospital. We have a method that helps you get home, helps you be safe. And of course, that pays off for the hospitals too, because our rehospitalization rate is under 2%.
Wow.
Is that occupational therapy type stuff for the home?
So there's always a professional that comes in and says, here's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But we can do a safety inspection, and then we'll try to get OT there to
Rearrange.
augment and to improve.
Yeah.
But we're trained enough to get in there and get people going.
Well,
They don't want to do
see it.
They don't want to do the grab bar.
Right.
And they don't want to take the rugs out of their house.
And area rugs, so area rugs that move.
Big
Oh,
trippers,
sure.
Yeah, and 1950s, 1960s, all over this valley, they were making the homes with the 3-inch lip going into the family room, into the kitchen. So guess what you get to do with a walker on
and
carpeted
down.
surfaces, up and down over 3-inch surfaces, and getting those safe. But if they truly are committed to staying in the house, there are ways to make that safe, and we help them do that.
You just bring some concrete in and pour that up.
Whatever it takes. There are ramps you can just pump in, metal ramps that are just right out of the market that you can just screw right into concrete.
Oh, nice.
So
Just automatically adjust.
there's a lots of ways to make them safe, and then there's just do they really want to be safe?
Right. Yeah.
Because I also get some stubborn ones that I want to be safe, but I don't want to change anything.
Sure.
Yeah, they're seniors.
From an insurance perspective, though, isn't there, and please, it's been a while since I've taken an insurance test, but aren't you supposed to be able to perform like 5 functions?
Yeah,
And if you can't perform those, then
Yes.
that's when you start qualifying for like long-term care and those types of things.
It's true. And even a Medicare Advantage program like from Blue Cross Blue Shield, they'll send us out to do a safety assessment on their clients because they've had somebody that's fallen in the home twice. And so from their standpoint, how do we keep this person safe so we don't have these massive payouts?
Yeah, absolutely.
From the person's standpoint, how do I stay out of assisted living? So it's actually very
Win-win.
synergistic. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Absolutely true.
Yeah. So you contract with the insurance carrier
Yes.
to go evaluate and
Yes.
see what you can do to help them.
Yes, and so then we'll go back to the insurance company and say,
nice.
and usually one of a few outcomes will happen.
Yeah.
So either the senior starts to work to try to figure out how to be safe in their house,
Yeah.
or they refuse, and then the insurance company will say, well, then you can't be our client. You have to go to assisted living, or some other thing will happen.
Right.
If it's long-term care insurance, they're in order to activate your long-term care, usually a couple of things have to happen. You have to fail on 2 of 5 or 3 of 5 of the activities of daily living. Which, if you think about it,
What are
bathing,
those?
dressing,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
continence care, or toileting, feeding, and ambulation.
I guess that's
And bathing, dressing, and ambulation or transfers are 3 that if you need one, you almost always need the other 2.
yeah. So you're pretty much there with
Yep. And that'll get you in for at least short shifts a couple of times a week.
Yeah.
And then we'll help you try to get better by doing.
So you take
your
long-term
exercise.
care insurance,
We
like the Genworth type stuff.
Yep. Genworth,
help
Bankers
cover.
Life, Transamerica.
So those are actually good policies.
They are good policies, particularly the older ones. They are awesome. And then there's a new, which you guys are insurance, so you know this, but a lot of times now they're kind of combining long-term care with an annuity policy.
More of an endorsement.
The life
Yes.
insurance, the annuities, kind of tying everything
Yeah,
together.
they're tying the long-term care into that
Yeah.
so that you've got that, because usually it was just, a benefit in your annuity that you got, but now they're tying long-term care into it. That makes it a good triple threat.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I'm 65 in just a matter of a couple of days. A lot of people older than me, they bought these policies 30 years ago.
Right.
And if they had an inflation rider in it,
Adjustment, yeah.
inflation adjuster, not all of them do.
Not all of them do. No.
No, it was that was a survival
That
of the
$65 bucks a day isn't going to cut
90
it.
was an old
Okay.
amount, and then they still have 90 today. And, that'll get you a couple of hours a day, but it won't get you more than that.
Sure.
And so that's problematic. Or it'll help augment off.
Yeah.
If they have an inflation factor, or you have a more generous policy.
What's a trigger factor for we've kind of talked about how someone gets started in it, right? You can't do these particular functions, but let's talk about, like, I hate to say graduating out of the program, but more in the sense of, like, now you've gone beyond our services. Where does that stop? Is it in a medical way?
Yeah, so sometimes it happens that obviously there's a budgetary factor.
Sure.
Okay, so if they're getting home care and this is what they can afford in home care, but their level of care makes sure they're not safe. For us, safety is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
So if we're coming during the day and we can get you a couple of meals, we can get you some exercise, we can keep your house clean, we get you a little more mobile, but you're not safe at night, you need to look into other alternatives. And that's when we start working with our clients, coaching them. So the main impetus has been, I have to go to the hospital because something happened. And so they recognize there's a change in their well-being.
Right.
The family comes. I mean, I get more calls on Christmas and Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, sure.
The family comes.
Oh.
They
They
panic.
didn't realize
What
how
do we
bad it
do?
was.
Mom's doing a good job.
Yeah,
covering
Nana's
up
no
on the
longer-
phone,
I
but
find-
man,
Yeah.
when you see her, oh my goodness. And so there's a lot of that.
Wow.
So those are the 2 main triggers. The third one is when the person actually realizes they need more help. That's maybe 10%, 15% of my calls.
Oh, yeah.
Where they call and they say, I'm looking for care for myself.
Oh, wow.
It does happen.
I mean,
But
it's
usually
good,
it's
right?
family or an event.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Because they just, they live in denial.
Nobody wants help if you can. It's tough to ask for help.
Yes, and we have a culture.
I don't even ask for directions or where something is in the supermarket. Like, nope, I will find it.
I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
That's what those gathers.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that's fine. So
I cut you off. What were you saying,
oh,
Michael?
no, I forgot. I told you
Okay.
I'm 65 too.
One thing that I wanted to add is that when it comes to those old long-term care policies, sometimes people will say, oh, there's a folder somewhere, I don't know who to call, and I just say, I'll come in with you, we'll figure it out together. I can even just look up the phone number online, and then as long as we get permission, somebody will get on the phone, I'll have them on speaker, and they say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, do you have permission so that I can talk to Heather also, and then I can help, just guide them with asking questions, and then we can get the ball rolling. But a lot of times they just haven't looked at it since 70s or 80s, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
the other
That's
impediment
part of it.
is there's always oftentimes an elimination period. I mean, seniors have paid for this policy for 40 years, 30 years, and they're worried about the 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days that it takes for the policy to kick in.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I help them with, just start with the 3-hour shifts
Right.
and we'll work your way into that. And then when the policy kicks in, you can add more time.
Right.
Because a lot of them are for a couple of $100 a day, which
Yes.
will get you quite a bit of home care. So
Quite a bit. Yeah.
How often are you seeing I guess when I think of like caregiving in a situation like, I don't know, I will jokingly say I just plan to burden my wife. But how much of a relief to a spouse is it? I know that there's a lot of studies around, hey, the caregiver is bearing this burden, and it's costing their life.
it is. You see an absolute decline in the primary caregiver, both physically and mentally, because it's exhausting work.
Sure.
The spouse, the son, the daughter,
Right.
Whoever it is, because
sometimes
it's
a close friend.
yep, it's absolutely difficult. And when we can come in and give some home care, and then the child can come back and be, now I can visit mom and just visit mom,
Yeah.
not be their caregiver when I'm there,
We
because
assume that role.
causes such tension in the family. And we try to alleviate that, and we generally speaking we can. When it's a married couple, it's hard because they have that commitment, that marital commitment. A lot of these folks have been married for 50 plus years, and they feel it's their responsibility. And the fact that they can't get down on their knees and clean the toilet
They feel
anymore,
guilty.
it feels guilty.
And sometimes we'll see a sweet little petite lady, and she's doing what we call in this business a 2-person assist,
Yeah.
all by herself.
Yeah. With a husband that outweighs
Wow.
her and out heights her. Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal. And so, those are tough care. We have a lot of tough caregiving situations, as
sure.
you might imagine. This business has a lot of great success and happiness, and it has some that are they're a real challenge.
I recall my grandparents who, my grandfather lived to be, I believe, 96, and my grandmother was probably 95.
Wow. Yeah.
And they almost were refusing to pass on because of the commitment to each other.
Right.
You're talking 60 plus years. And I think that they needed, for lack of a better word, permission.
That's correct. That's an honest term.
Yeah. Yeah.
People need a permission to pass.
Yeah, and I remember my papa saying like, "Well, who's going to take care of her?" And it's like, I haven't seen you walk in 2 months, but you will.
And there's couples in assisted living, getting them in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And then of course we do go all the way to 24-hour care, and we still do live-ins, which is really appropriate for saving a third of the cost of home care,
Oh.
because you don't pay for the overnight unless you get the caregiver up.
Oh yeah.
And so that's an excellent way to help folks with that end of life needs. Live-ins, we tend to get them better and they last a long time. 24-hour care usually means they're very close to the end.
Are you working with a lot of like private care assisted living homes where you'll go in and have multiple residents, and you might have like an exercise type of thing, or is it more one-on-one based?
More one-on-one. We've tried to target, like a group homes or some of the others with some, it comes up, but it's not a huge part of the market. So someone will say, hey, because in assisted living, they don't sit with mom for 3 hours in the afternoon, and we will. And maybe it's that they're not eating their dinner, so or their lunch. So we'll come in at, say, 11 o'clock, make sure they have some lunch, and then do companion care for a couple hours.
Sure.
Because that's not one of the things that assisted living does. You make sure the meal gets set in front of you, make sure you're clean and continence, make sure your
safe,
laundry is
yeah.
done. But it doesn't make sure you eat, and it doesn't make sure you exercise. It
Oh,
does just
interesting.
That's not part of the program. So it does happen, but it's not huge. Far more in homes is the largest part of our business.
Are you targeting a specific area in the valley?
So if you take Central Avenue from in Phoenix
Yeah.
and keep going eastward, that's our
Everything
territory.
that side.
then.
Yeah, well, yeah. So
Including Scottsdale.
so we're home alone.
East.
We're home alone
Yeah,
East
true.
Valley. There is a new home wall opening up that has West Mesa and North Tempe.
Okay.
She'll have those zip codes. So I kind of look like Pac-Man wrapped around
Yeah.
her territories. And we'll help support her get on the ground. There's actually now home wells across the valley.
Great.
So there's one out on the way west side. There's one in Glendale, and there's one in the very North Phoenix, and then there's us
Did you start Homewell?
in this city. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
good for you.
with Mesa Gilbert,
Yeah.
and then we've had Chandler.
Do you own all the other ones around here? Like, is Arizona yours?
No. Those, so there's a different. So it's a franchise,
Oh, it's a franchise. Okay.
national franchise. So I have 4 territories, and there's
That's
other
great.
people with 1 each.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So,
You're original, though.
yes, yeah.
You're the original.
Michael the Trailblazer.
And thank God I have a marketer because I can do about everything in running a business except that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, and
That's
that's
what I enjoy, mixing it up with people.
Yes, it's good.
And signing families up for care. So, yeah.
Amazing.
so. That's when I generally basically do all the operations. So
That's good. I do a lot of operation stuff at the office.
yeah. Well, and home care is probably the toughest of any business that I've run in the following fashion. I've run facilities with 100 or 200 people in them, sometimes multi-plant facilities. So one in
coordination.
Texas and one in South Chandler at one time. Here, when there's a call off, it's a critical event. There, if you got 100 people and somebody calls off,
You got someone to fill in the
somebody
gap.
else figures it out. Somebody else works 5% harder, and the work gets done.
Right.
In this industry, everything's an event because they need you.
So if somebody calls out, you have to staff it with another caregiver
Yes.
That's right.
from another area that might have a day off or something.
Yes, and I've got 30 plus years of supply chain for a lot of different, very large companies.
Yeah.
And this is the hardest one for staffing.
Staffing.
Because I get call offs.
Yeah.
Last
We
minute
really-
call offs.
We do a good job, though. I mean,
Well, yeah. I imagine
Seems
you
like-
have things in place to handle
Yeah,
Yeah,
call
so we have there's always the caregivers willing to take some overtime,
Right.
and so that's more how we fix it than anything else.
That's good.
But also, my scheduling and HR folks can take shifts. My care manager can take shifts. During the first year of COVID, I personally took more shifts
yeah.
than in the other 9 years combined. Adam and I did because
Adam's
if
our nurse, by
you-
the way.
you
so we
couldn't-
have a nurse that
you
takes
couldn't
shifts
find a
too.
caregiver. There just was nobody because and so it's all somebody had to do was go, and they were off for 2 weeks
Right.
because nobody knew
During
that
COVID, you didn't know what was going on.
nobody
Yeah.
knew that COVID was basically no best,
Flu.
no worse, no better than the flu.
Right.
Which means it needs the same things, which is gloves.
Right. You need to cover up. And
If you go
wash
to a
your
CNA training, they teach you how to properly use gloves, masks, and gowns. And guess what you needed to do for COVID?
Yeah.
Same
Gloves, masks,
thing.
and gowns,
and
yeah.
get out in the sun because we're also basically walking plants.
Yeah,
and the
basically.
sun heals us.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin
We're-
D.
We're getting into some insurance bros after dark conversation here.
Silliness of us panicking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just say it that
Yeah.
way. But yeah, that first year was brutal.
I definitely have an opinion on that. I will save
Well,
it.
mine are pretty strong, but I'll stop right
I'm stopped there too.
there because I don't want to offend anybody. They can definitely have the opposite opinion. I just
What's the? We've talked about your target clientele.
yes.
What's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
So, get to the Homewell Cares website and you'll find our location. The main phone is always on. It's off in my pocket right now, but
right, yeah.
it's ready to go back on. We have
Yeah.
a sales intake person, we have marketing, and me. So everybody's taking calls. 4 of us can do assessments. So there's never really a gate factor that prevents you from getting in.
You're like,
Does the individual have to be in your specific territory?
Yeah, so if they're in a zip code that's one of the other Homewell zones,
Sure.
I take the full intake and then I turn it over.
Oh, very cool.
And then there are some zip codes like nobody owns Santan Valley. Eventually, somebody will.
Right.
Santan and Queen Creek and
Whoever just-
wrapped around.
whoever they call kind of.
But since I'm out here, therefore, those are my.
closer.
Oh yeah, because the other one's in Glendale, or
It's a lot to.
you're not coming from
Kind
Surprise.
of caregiver from Glendale.
Early on, when it was just me, I would take something anywhere, anytime,
Right,
any
yeah.
place. Right when you're starting a business,
Yeah.
that's what
You're
you
all
do.
over the place. I
I
remember
took
those
one
days.
in Peoria, and I literally put 1,000 miles on my car
Yeah.
in a week.
Just going back and
Just
forth.
to go back and forth, take care of that critical client.
Yeah.
I learned I just can't do that. But I've been in Asnaha for a long time, Arizona In-Home Care Association.
Yeah.
So I have partners now that before there were other home wells, I would just like give them to
Yeah.
there. Or like I don't take all techs. So
You
I
pass
send them
those.
to Devoted Guardians or to All Valley because they're pretty much the experts
That's great.
in
Yeah.
that, in the all techs.
I think that sets us apart in that I do the same thing. If someone calls, I will listen to what they have to say, what the care needs are of them or their loved one, and then I know that even had a call and somebody lived in Tucson, and for some reason they ended up here at the hospital in Chandler.
Wow.
And so got all that information and then got that set up with the home well down there.
Yeah, there's a home well in Tucson.
Very cool.
Yeah, and another thing is, I answer my phone pretty much all the time. Doesn't matter if it's 9:00 at night, and I know Michael does the same thing. And I've even had people comment like, "Wow, you answered your phone," you know. So I think
What a
that,
difference that makes, huh?
I know,
Doesn't it
right?
make a difference? It really does. Yeah.
And over the years, I've gotten some very big clients by answering the phone on a
Yeah,
Saturday,
absolutely.
right? And being willing to go do an
I
assessment.
jokingly say I work 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a client that owned an electrical service business, and he said, entrepreneurs, the only people that work 80 hours a week to avoid a 40-hour week.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
And then I said, that's really not that funny because it's a little too
It's a little
true.
true,
I,
right?
I think for our insurance friends out there, and they'll understand this, but I mean, I probably still am at a point to where if you got a pulse, I got a policy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've got those, maybe not necessarily 1,000 miles on my car, but 1,000 miles on my keyboard trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's true.
And so I applaud you making that drive. I feel like when I first moved to Arizona, everything was 20 minutes away, and now it's not.
It is a very large city.
Yeah,
And now it's not.
now it's not.
I grew up here. Everything was closer. And now
Sure.
it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, the freeways are nice. And, and
That's true. There used to be gravel roads back when you were a
right.
kid, right?
Yeah.
There's the 10 and the 60, and that was probably it.
That was it. Yeah, the 51 was a 2-lane road we used to drive on, and the 17 was there. The 10, the 60 was there, but it kind of ended,
Yeah.
and then that was it. So I saw the 101 being built, but they had for years they just had overpasses over all the streets,
Oh, yeah.
and that was it. Like, oh, I wonder what's going on there.
More people,
Yeah,
more
it's-
people.
It's been a long ride.
More seniors, more seniors.
Yes,
That's it.
more people to help.
Michael, what's your ideal? We're a business-based podcast. What's your ideal referral partner?
Okay. So we love the higher end independent living communities that we're in because then there's a wellness meeting, which means somebody's keeping an eye on everybody. And
Staff those.
yes,
Like put somebody in there all the
12
time.
hours a
12 hours?
day. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And then then we work on a roster with 20 or 30 clients and
Yeah, that's great.
just pop in and out of the rooms. And we do it more simply. A lot of people try to charge by the minute. And we
the
don't.
minute?
And it's really confusing for the
minute,
seniors.
wow.
So what we do is here's your daily rate. Here's the list of menu of items that you can get.
you
We have
need.
6 levels of care.
Right.
And then we're in and out. So you can start at just $25 a day. And we'll
Right.
be in there 2-3 times a day to make sure you got your meds.
That's not
and we
bad.
go up from there. And so we
You want to stress me out? Charge me by the minute.
Yeah, that's right.
And for those of us who know
That'll be
seniors,
50 cents.
Well, then,
you know, like,
then they
it
get their
takes-
bill.
it takes
Yeah.
longer
They
often.
can't figure it out. It is confusing and it's
Sure.
painful. We've always been about no pain for the seniors, right?
Yeah.
Let's make it easy for them.
It's like
And then in the home environment, so referral partners there are your hospitals, rehabs, skilled nursing. We also use some online ones. I'm with Aging Care / A Place for Mom, and they're a great referral source, and a couple other ones like Karen Homes, and they throw out a lot of referrals. 65% of home care referrals come online now.
Interesting.
So over time, that market has changed, and that's both from HomeWell statistics and a couple other industry-wide folks, and they're so close within the range of where business comes from.
Would you say that a good majority of your clients or would-be clients are come in educated with what they think they want or need?
I'll say it this way: most of them undersell it, so they need more than what they think they need, and that's part of the assessment. And we absolutely help them with, yes, this is where we can get you. This is your goal, but this is where you're at. You're not going to get to that goal unless we help you get there. And so the nice thing about working with HomeWell, you can make changes with 24 hours notice. So if you start like every day because you had a knee surgery or something, and then you get to the point where you only need 3 times a week, and then you get to 2 times a week, and you don't need us 1 a week, and then you don't need us, that's fine with us. So we make that. It's more painful for the caregivers who prefer to have like a set schedule forever. But the business at its core is about the seniors.
Extremely fluid.
Right.
Yep. So what they want is that capability, and we give it to them.
Do right by people, then you're going to get more business.
That's just it. And
Back
offering
around.
flexibility really gives the family peace of mind, especially when they think, oh, mom will just need this a couple weeks and then she should be better. And people are often
In theory, yeah.
They're surprised 2 weeks takes 2 months when you're in your 80s. But
Once you start getting down into it,
it takes longer to heal. You just don't.
It does take longer to heal when you're older. Yeah.
Yes. And they have to be more patient.
I commonly say, oh man, that fall would have ruined my week.
Yeah. And we can all probably remember a story of someone that, just ruined the remainder of their retirement because they did something silly.
Yeah. Yeah. Like playing golf.
I had a friend, all he wanted to do was play tennis and play golf, and decided that he would get up on his roof and clean the gutters.
Oh,
and catastrophic 2 shattered knees later.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. My advice is pay the handyman to do things.
Yeah.
That's what my wife keeps telling me. She's like, just, pay somebody to do that. You're about to die every time you come back in the house.
My furnace filters are 12 feet in the air. And I got to get on a stepladder to change them. And that's just crazy. I don't need to.
It's funny you say that. My air filter, so we have 2, and at the top of my stairs is where my filter is at, and I have to climb a 6-foot ladder to reach it, and I almost went down. My wife grabbed me by the back of the shirt.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I would have died.
I just think, seniors are doing that if they have a house
right.
with a similar floor plan like that.
And I have Susan spot me when I do it, and she holds it.
Sure.
Which just means if I fall, I'll take her out too.
Yeah, there you go. We're in this together.
So, edit that one out. I don't need her to hear that one.
Yeah.
This has been a great deal of information. I really appreciate you taking the time and coming down and allowing us to learn more about your business.
That was fun for me.
Yeah. Boss, do you have any parting questions?
I think we're good. Parting questions. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys did amazing.
We talked about everything, and I think we hit a lot of great points and stuff. And you are definitely separated from the rest of the pack, and you've been here a long time doing this. So
I definitely have a passion for what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? You can't.
I just signed up for 10 more years of doing it.
Wow, good for you. That's amazing.
And keep in mind, we will do a free assessment anytime. So that means we're going to come and sit down with the family. We'll take a look at the house and do that safety assessment. Sometimes the seniors, like mom or dad, is more willing to listen to us if we say, gosh, let's move this rug out of the way, like I mentioned before, whereas they don't listen to their kids, right?
Sure.
But we'll do an assessment, and then if it works out, great, and if not, it's just good to have the information. I always just say you're doing your homework at this point, and there's no pressure.
Right.
Eventually, they come back, though.
They do.
A lot of times.
Right. Most of
the time, many times.
Many times,
Yeah.
You go out and do the assessment. They kind of get a feel. They're figuring life out.
Well, you're kind of going through a grief process, if you will. You've got to accept
losing your independence temporarily, hopefully.
where you're at, and it's kind of like closing a chapter, and you've got to Move on.
Aging is a list of all the things you had to give up because you can't do them anymore.
Yeah.
Like for me personally, dirt bikes,
Yeah.
quads. The
Yeah.
body doesn't really handle it anymore.
I did all of those things too, and the thought of that right now shivers me.
I would still
there,
do
done
it, but there's a part of my brain that tells me that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not smart enough to not get 10, 12 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I get it.
Yeah, it happens, right? You know, it's fun that way.
It is fun.
I have a totally random question. You talked about the assessment stuff, Heather, and I know that we were on our way out, but now I have to know. I work with a placement agency there as a client in Texas, and they part of their assessment process is driving and how they are judging reaction times, and they've got a whole simulator. Can you talk about
So
is driving a part of it?
there are many kids who want their parents to give up driving, and there are so many seniors who won't do it. And they have conditions like neuropathy; they can't even feel the gas pedal and the brake, and they're still out there, pounding around. And it's really hard. We try to get them, and we send them. There's a place here.
Okay.
His name's going to escape me at the moment, but there's a place where they'll go and get tested.
Got it.
And we oftentimes get seniors to volunteer for that. But if you go to the DMV or Motor Vehicle Division, it's like, can you read this line? And if you can, then you get to still drive.
Yeah.
It's one of the, self-driving cars. I'm a big fan of that future.
Yeah.
For me personally and for our seniors, because it's the most dangerous thing.
Yeah.
But no, we don't. We try to talk them into getting assessed.
Okay. I didn't
And
know
we try
that
to
there was an
talk them
assessment,
into
but that's
giving
great.
Giving up there. Yeah.
But it seems like we
there's
have
three.
resources.
There's three of them in the city. If you Google it, you go and you take the test, and it's all of those things you mentioned: cognitive reaction time.
I remember again going back to my nana. My aunt got a ticket. They took my grandmother's picture as she was going through a intersection, and that was it. As soon as that picture showed up, it was like, we're done here. And it wasn't even. I don't think she ran the light. I think she just pulled out too far, and once you pass a certain point, it clicked, and so that was an unsafe move. And so that was it.
It's a crazy thing. So, yep, giving up driving voluntarily is hard to do, and I would wish more of them would do it.
Yeah,
because we do transport.
That's the last step, I think, of independence.
Right. And it's all about I don't want to give up control.
Right.
And we try to come in as personal assistants and not as we're your nurse, and try to make that palatable for them.
Yeah.
But they know they're giving up. But it's better to give up a little bit and have home care and help you stay steady state and better than now you're forced into assisted living.
Right. Right. I'm just going to get a golf cart.
Not that assisted living's a horrible thing. It's just something you don't want to do until you have to.
Right. No, I mean, there's a definite need for assisted living.
Absolutely. It's a part of the continuum of care, and it's a very big, important part.
Do 24-hour care or the cost difference.
Cognizant tests.
And then,
I mean, a live-in on an annual basis is a couple of $100,000 a year.
Pretty expensive, yeah.
24-hour care is over $300,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so there is a profile that does that. Matter of fact, if I had 40 of those, I'd just be sitting on a beach somewhere.
But there's to do the occasional
exactly. But they're definitely out there,
there's definitely a big population that did the planning ahead of time, bought the long-term care policies, saved money, did retirement stuff to get to this point. So I mean, they're there.
They are
there.
And we definitely service them, and we definitely service the 12 hours a week, and the Medicare Advantage that gets, a 4-hour a week, personal care shift. Yeah. Those policies tend to only have about 30 hours a year.
Yeah, not a lot, but
at a critical time when you've had an incident.
But if
Can you overlap them?
If they have an incident and they need care, and they're like, well, I have this benefit. They go use it. They realize they need more. Now all of a sudden they're coming on full time with you
because they see the benefit.
Because they see the value.
I have somebody right now that's using their Medicare Advantage for 3 hours a week of care, and their long-term care policy for the rest. Both.
Oh, nice.
So we actually have one that's using both.
That's great.
And the long-term care will pick up all of it once we exhaust the Medicare
Which
Advantage.
Advantage plans do you?
So Blue Cross Blue Shield, we've got Centum, United Healthcare, Humana, about 8 other ones.
Yeah.
Um,
So you have the majority of them.
I have the majority of them, and there's one big one that I'm still trying to get.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
uh-huh.
Okay.
And one of my method of marketing is to call you every day until you finally take my call.
You know, that's my method of marketing. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
You want to sell some insurance, Michael?
I got a job.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Eventually, they do give in.
so we do take that. We take veterans too, which is
Awesome.
that's a great benefit. And they raised the rates on the veterans so that now it's actually profitable. Medicare Advantage is not
No.
as a home care company. But that doesn't mean I would ignore it as a part of the business.
Sure.
You know, my job is, or my calling is to service seniors where I find them. And one day there will be a lot more Medicare Advantage, and
Eventually,
Medicare will probably start
right.
paying us, since there's a lot of us turning 65 every single day.
And you know
At
what?
the end of the
Yeah.
boomers, and the boomers are huge. And if you look at veterans, World War II was the last massive, and there's a lot less of them.
Right.
And then there's Korean vets, and then there's Vietnam vets. But go beyond that, they're really small
Yeah.
amounts of veterans. So the veterans benefit is nice now, but I can see a time where there'll be not many of them left
Sure.
Right.
that are eligible
Interesting.
for the benefit.
I've never thought about
But
that.
we take veterans aid in attendance, and we also do it
There's
when
no
they get the.
major wars at that.
There were no major wars,
After-
and even Vietnam is not a major war.
No, not.
conflict.
It's not a world.
Insurance bros after dark.
And then you go to 1992 before there's with the Gulf
Yeah,
War,
yeah.
Gulf.
and that wasn't long and wasn't many.
It wasn't.
And even the conflict in Afghanistan that lasted 20 years. You're still, over all that time, you're only looking at a few 100,000 versus the 6 million
Yeah.
that were involved in World War II in some
World
way, shape,
War.
or form.
Again, referencing my grandparents.
That's-
If my grandfather wasn't a veteran, he was a Navy veteran, and their cost, my grandparents' cost was astronomical. So I think we thank God for the VA and how they handled that entire situation.
Absolutely.
So,
That's an amazing,
death.
it's an amazing thing. Absolutely. And they do help them at all levels of care. So there's us with home care, there's placement and group homes. And so it's a broad-based program. I love the VA, that's for sure.
yeah.
So sorry.
Michael, Heather, no, it's awesome. Michael and Heather from Homewell Care Service. Sorry,
Service, yes.
Homewell Care Service. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
Absolutely, Voss. What do you got going on this week?
This week, nothing.
Maybe even this month.
Well, the Alpha conference is next week, the 11th, 12th, and 13th, I think, and then HSP East Valley is going to be at our funeral home
Cool.
on the 12th at 3. Yeah, so come on out to the funeral home, and it's a 70s theme. So
Ooh,
yeah,
sounds
put on
groovy.
it is groovy, yeah.
Far out, man.
You anything going on?
No.
No,
I'm living for the moment.
it's good for you.
All right, gentlemen.
All right,
Thanks so
man.
much for having us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Michael. Thank you very much, Heather.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Yep.
My name is Casey Kendall. I own Prosperity North Advisors.
Voss Spiros Financial, Arizona Medicare.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.